What a crazy journey this has been for 2 years. I mean, lie after lie, manipulation, corruption, chasing corruption, double standards, unequal application of the law, one law for thee, one law for me. So I have been in the fire. I have been refined by the fire. I think God wanted me to come out more purified. My wife is laughing that with the beard, I look a little bit wiser. So, for the past 2 years, of course, I had no opportunity really to shave, and I decided to not shave until tomorrow. So, when I'm going to be able to talk to our church members, that they will see how I was ministering in prison. So, the story is absolutely unbelievable. I don't know where you want me to start, but
First of all,
every
well,
day,
first of all, I don't want you to get in any more trouble, and not because of anything you say to me, okay? So we know that you are so courageous and you say everything, but Pastor Art, I mean, I do not want you to go through any more than you've gone through. I I just want you to say what you're allowed to say and what you want to say. No one can stop you. But we're just so happy. Can I just say, I was inundated with emails. What's happening with Pastor Art? Praying for Pastor Art. We prayed for you at our meetings. We prayed for you at our, our weekly home groups that we belong to. The world went up in prayer. And Pastor Art, I was in the United States of America in San Diego when our wonderful friend that you traveled with, she gave a presentation on you, and it was just a standing ovation on behalf of what you're doing and the price that you're paying. And we saw all kinds of folks, even from the United States, where you have done some travel now, and they're all learning about your story. And you've got an amazing press in the United States, and they're looking at our country. Do you know? I went to church in West Palm Beach this last weekend, and somebody asked me where I was from. One of the nice, they greet you and stuff at the church. And I said I was from Canada. And do you know what he said to me? In all seriousness, he said, "I'm so sorry. This is the reputation that we're getting in Canada for the kind of tyranny that is being put on all of us." So thank you for what you've been through. Don't get in any more trouble with that nasty judge you have to deal with. We're just pathetically sick of all of them, and corruption and everything. We're all sick of them. But if you could tell me a bit about the experience, I have a couple of questions. Like, what's it like to be locked in solitary confinement for a long time? What happens to your mind in that kind of situation?
well, first of all, I want to tell you, I guess it's impossible for me not to get into trouble. I mean,
Yeah.
every time I wake up in the morning, I think the devil says, "Oh no, him again! I have to hammer
Yes.
this guy." So it's impossible. I mean, I've decided with my wife, I will be me. I will be speaking the truth, and I will face whatever is coming my way. There is only one way I know, Laura. How to live. I only know one way how to live, and that's the way of a free man. When I received Christ, you see, I was a slave to the devil. But when Jesus Christ set me free, I am not planning to go back into slavery. You see, I was locked in prison for 50 days, but I was freer than those that locked me in prison for 50 days. I was freer. I was truly free than the guards, majority of them, and the judges and the crown prosecutors and the corrupted politicians. So you can be in prison and you can be free, but that does not mean it's not hard. So here is, I'll just kind of wrap the whole story in a, I'll shorten it. I was invited to speak, to conduct a church service in Milk River and in Coutts. So I was asked to go over there, and of course, you know the story. The government hates me. The government has been hunting me down for the past 2 years because I have been opposing the tyranny that I have seen from the very beginning of this insanity called COVID. So I opposed that. I fought them. I got about 40 tickets, a few arrests, and I have been battling them in court in and out. And I was invited to participate in different protests. Some of them we've done it together, and of course you were as a guest speaker in Edmonton, in Calgary, and I was visiting you in Vancouver. We've done some amazing, beautiful things together, conducting church services at the steps of the Supreme Court of British Columbia and other places. So I have been doing this for forever. Since I remember, I will be speaking the truth and trying to give people hope based on my experience growing up behind the Iron Curtain under the boots of the Soviets. So when I received an invitation to go to a rally, I said, "Sure, I'll come. I will cheer you up. I will tell you that Jesus loves you. I'll conduct the church service." So when I got invited to Milk River, I said, "Sure, I'll come." I brought Lord's Supper. I brought the worshiper with my son. We came over there. I did a speech. That's what I do. I talk to people, and we did Lord's Supper together. And Larry was singing songs. RCMP officers were there. The roads were not blocked. No one was imputing on the flow of traffic. RCMP, about 40 cars were blocking the highway, and we've done a peaceful church service in Milk River, which is about 14 kilometers from Coutts, Montana, Alberta border, and behold, we went into our car and we went to the blockage, right? There is our RCMP standing over there. They stopped us and they said, "Where are you going?" We said, "We're going to Coutts." We had some food for the people, we had some supplies, and of course, they monitored, they've seen what we were doing in Milk River for 2 hours. They had their camera, they recorded my speeches, my Lord's Supper, everything. So they knew, of course, they knew who I was. They recognized me on the spot, and behold, they allowed us to go. We went to Coutts border with the assistance of our CMP officers. They checked us out. They saw that I am in the car, and they said, "Okay, sure, go." So we went to Coutts. Again, the roads were not blocked. The flow of traffic was going in and out. I was taken to a bar. I think it was Smugglers Inn called, something like that. And there was a few hundred people there. And we set up our speakers and I gave my speech. If you listen to my speech, you will know that during that speech, 3 times, I said to the people peacefully, no guns, no swords. This is a peaceful protest. This is a non-compliance. This is a civil rights style movement. Mahatma Gandhi, Martin Luther King Jr., solidarity. That's why I started my speech with a shipyard during the solidarity in Gdańsk, where those people were non-violent people. This was non-compliance. When I say paralyzing their system, I'm not talking about any violence. I'm not talking about storming any places. I'm just simply saying that during the solidarity movement, they refused to work for the tyrants. So people just refused to go to work, and they would not work for the tyrants. However, these days, because they have nothing solid on us, and of course my speeches were highly popular and not popular within the government, because I was not inciting people to violence. I was not saying, "Hey, let's just shoot and kill and pillage and rob and do all of that stuff." Actually, quite opposite. Every time I would speak, I would tell people peacefully, peacefully. This is a peaceful opposition. Don't do anything crazy. Don't do violence. When I learned that some people wanted to go to Edmonton and paralyze the entire capital of Alberta, I opposed it. I said, I think that's a bad idea. I think the Kenya government, because Kenya is a tyrant, he's going to follow the steps of Justin Trudeau. You will be arrested. Your children will be arrested. I said, that's a horrible idea. to go to Edmonton and paralyze the capital city. Don't do it here. Here's what I observed. I observed peace. There was no incidents whatsoever. Our CMP was fully cooperating with the protesters. The roads were not blocked. The flow of traffic was freely from the Montana border. This is what I saw, and now is in the court records. The roads were not blocked when I came in. They were not blocked when I left. Not once I told them to block the streets. The RCMP was working with us. I was allowed to come in with the assistance of RCMP officers. I simply said, don't change your gig. You have peaceful assembly. You're working with the authorities. Don't go to Edmonton, because if you go and you paralyze the entire capital city, you may end up in a big trouble. And I was proven right, because look what happened in Ottawa. The horses trampling people, hundreds of people arrested, hundreds receiving tickets, and were portrayed as terrorists. And what I said to them, it was a logical thing for me. The eyes of the world are on Coutts, and you have everything peacefully going on. Don't change the game in the middle of something that is so good and authorized with the authorities. So that was my reasoning, which of course is going to be coming out during the trial. We will bring witnesses of the conversations we had, and that will be proven in court. However, the other guys don't play fair. They are liars, they're manipulators, they're making stuff up. So what they did, they week later, they did a sting operation, and they waited outside my house in a private vehicles. And when I came out of my house, RCMP officers, detectives, and the Calgary police came with their cruisers. It was like, oh my God, this was like El Chapo takedown of the most dangerous individual in North America. It was insane. So what I did, what I always do these days, I went to my knees to make a point. This was not to create a job of the peace officer into, something more difficult. I did it to make a point. You're acting like Nazis, you're acting like communists, KGB, you're acting like Gestapo, you're arresting peaceful opposition, political opposition, you're arresting peaceful protesters, and especially clergymen that have said, do not use any violence. This is a peaceful opposition to a tyrannical overreach of our dictators that we have right now. Of course, they don't care about reasoning. They don't care about what's right, what's wrong. They don't care about Criminal Code of Canada. They don't care about our rights whatsoever. The Charter of Rights and Freedoms out the door, the Constitution out the door, Criminal Code of Canada out the door, truth out the door. They have their mainstream propaganda machinery to forward their Goebbels narration. I was taken to the police station. This was the most brutal arrest so far. I have been arrested so far 16 times. I have a scar to this day that's 2 months now on my wrists. They were brutal. They pushed me around. They did not like me. Anyway, fast forward. My bail was denied. I end up in Calgary Remand Center. There's a lots of things to talk about, so I will kind of like skip, and I'll try to be as brief as I can. I was placed
Anything
on
you like.
solitary, yeah, I was placed on solitary confinement. How is how a human mind copes with isolation, segregation is unbelievable. Listen, you go crazy. Literally. You can go crazy in segregation. They kept me over 30 days in a segregation, in solitary confinement. Of course, they don't call it solitary confinement, because solitary confinement is actually unusual and cruel punishment, which is prohibited in our Charter of Rights and Freedoms. You're not allowed to do that. The courts have ruled that this is torture, and that's actually torture. I'm telling you, I have been subjected to this, and that's torture. I think I would prefer to be punched in the face than to be kept in isolation. Isolation does such a damage to your mind, to your spirit, to your body, that you don't know what to do. You want to scream, you want to cry, you want to yell. And during my time, I've heard people go nuts. I've seen people staring at the wall when we were kept 24, 25 hours in a total lockdown segregation for this period of time. You cannot do anything. They have not given me nothing to read for a week. They have denied me my glasses. So now imagine, and now imagine you are in a little box and there is nothing you can do. You cannot write, you cannot read, there is nothing to do. It's only few feet to the door and few feet across. That's it. First hour, maybe it's not so bad. 5 hours, 10 hours, 20 hours. First day, second, third, fourth, fifth. You go crazy because there is nothing to do. And the time in isolation doesn't go like right now. Like since I was released, I'm trying to catch up with time, right? I have phone calls, I do interviews, I write, I read, I hug my wife, I spend time with my kids. There's something going on, so time goes so fast. Over there, time is your worst enemy. I don't know how to describe that to you. It's enemy. It's an enemy number one because everything is dragged. Every minute is a torture. Every hour is unbearable. You're begging them, why? I talk to them, why am I in segregation? What have I done that is so dangerous that you're keeping me 22, 23, 24, sometimes 25 hours alone in this cell? Nurses would come every day, and that's a hilarious thing, actually. Every day, they would open the door and a nurse would come. And they would ask, how are you doing? Are you doing okay? No, I'm not doing okay. Why are you keeping me in segregation? What have
Wow.
I done to deserve to be in such isolation? Oh, I can't help you with that. So why are you asking me how I'm feeling? And the guard would be so mad, boom, would smash the door in my face. The next day would come. How are you feeling, Mr. Pawlowski? Well, I'm not feeling good. I go nuts here. Why can't I have a book? Why don't you give me a Bible and my glasses so I can actually read? Why can't I have interactions with other inmates? Why am I kept here in a box like a dog? Oh, I can't help you with that. But would you like some drugs? Listen, every day we were being offered cocaine. Of course, they have a different word for that. Fentanyl, and about two or three other drugs. When I saw the nurses, I've lost total respect because they're not nurses, they are drug pushers. And it's so interesting that people that were locked there, the people that were locked with me in that unit, some of them were there because they were dealing drugs. But here, you've got guards and you've got nurses dealing drugs, but those drugs are government approved drugs, but they are identical drugs that those people are dealing outside. And I'm not a drug dealer, I'm not a drug user. I have put somewhere on a paper the names of those drugs, but they are like cocaine. And I have seen drug dealers going on in prison. There's no problem. There's no shortage of drugs. You get drugs there. You deal drugs. I was offered to buy them. I've seen people selling. I've seen people buying. I've seen people snorting them through the nose when they crush the cocaine, and they are happy campers. And that's how they want them. They want the prisoners to be addicted to the legal drugs so the inmates would be sleeping all day long and they will not be doing anything. However, the problem with that is that when they were awakened, they were on a withdrawal because they needed more drugs. So what they would do, they would yell, they would scream, they would bang on the walls during the night hours, and they would just go nuts. So you're in that environment. I asked the director of the Riemann, I asked to provide me with earplugs because I could not sleep of people yelling and screaming. And he says, denied, denied. I asked for glasses. They would not provide me. I asked for Bible. They would not provide me. And later on, I received it. When I received my Bible, They were so upset that they took me and they placed me in a metal box. And I'm sure if you have not been in prison, and some people listening, they'll say like, "What are you talking about?" Here is what they done to me. They took me out of the cell. No explanation whatsoever. Never. You are to come out, or you will face consequences. So you have to follow their directions. They took me out, stripped me naked again. Multiple times I was stripped naked, humiliated in front of other people, multiple people, not just one guard to check you out. No, in front of others, women, men, it didn't matter. Just to dehumanize you, just to treat you like a dog. So I was stripped naked, checked, and then they put me into a machine that you have at the airports. So I would ask, if I am stripped naked and you're searching for contraband, why do I have to go through the machine? Because the machine reveals everything anyway. So pick one. Either put me on the machine or strip search me, But no, see, they're doing all of that just to treat you like a dog. That's it. That's the only purpose, to put you down, and you're nothing. You have no rights. We talked to the guards and we said, "You're not allowed to do this stuff to us. We have our rights." And he laughed and he said, "Here, you don't have any rights. It's what we say goes." So that's your penitentiary system. Then they put me in a metal box, a little bit bigger. So you're sitting in a metal box and you don't know why. You don't know, what have I done to be in a metal box? It's extremely hot. I was actually passing out because I was not allowed to drink for a whole day. In my cell, there was no water. Nothing was provided to me. And then I was placed in a metal box and I was like passing out, sweating. And they took me to x-ray again for the second time. And I told them, I said, "I don't think that's safe. You're doing those radiation, over my body. I don't think that's safe." And they were kind of like having a good time. The machine would tell us if it's not safe. Like, I mean, do you really think I'm that stupid? But you see, you have no rights. Then on the way back, they placed me in a little metal box. So I was in a bigger one. Now I'm sitting like this, and then there's nothing I can do. There's nothing. You can't stretch yourself, and you're sitting in a box, a metal box, and I'm wondering why. I'm non-violent. I have not been threatening anyone. I have not been arrested for violence. My speech, in 3 times during my speech, I told them non-violent. I told them peacefully. So, and yet I am sitting in a metal box. And then again, a guard comes in with 2 nurses. "How are you feeling?" And I yell at them. I said to them, "You learned from the best, from the Nazis, how to treat people." Boom! They slammed the door and kept me in a metal box some more.
Bad shit. Absolute bad shit.